Welcome to the Oso Spurs podcast, where we are currently 2 points clear at the top of the league, no longer joint top, and we could be set to go 5 points clear on Friday if we can get a win at Crystal Palace. So today we're going to be debriefing on the Fulham game, going over Richarlison's performance, the glimpses of beautiful Kulusevski, how Hojbjerg got on in Bissouma's role, and Ange's press conference. Then what we'll be doing is diving into a Crystal Palace preview alongside David, who's a Crystal Palace fan, who's kindly joining us today to help us preview that game. So we'll start with the Fulham game, shall we, lads? Si, what did you make of the performance overall?
I think it panned out like we said it would do on the pod beforehand. I think you took the 2-0, Jim, didn't you? Mystic Jim got the 2-0. But I think what we said was it was going to be a bit of a tight game, a bit nip and tuck. They were going to defend quite deep, quite narrow, push us wide, and that's exactly what they did. And if you look at the heat maps for the game, that's exactly what happened. Tried to hit us fast on the break down the wings, and it was a bit frustrating at times. The first half I thought was a really good first half for us, but again, we should have put the game out of reach before half time. I think we had enough chances to bury it, and then Maddison's goal in the second half came at just the right time because they were on top for that first 8 minutes of the second half. They were quite on top, and when in the ground, it felt like it was like cut and thrust, nip and tuck, and it was like good atmosphere. And when I listened to Ange's presser yesterday evening, it was like when he was saying he was really disappointed with the second half. I was like, really? I didn't feel that in the ground. But then I watched the game again today at lunchtime. I rewatched it and thought, actually, when you listen to what he was saying, we did give the ball away cheaply in the second half. We exposed ourselves a little bit to the counter-attack. And so I think he's got a point. Well, what does he care about what I fucking think? But I think he's got a point. and there's still lots of room for improvement. 9 games in. If this is what it is, 9 games in, then, I'm delighted. And I don't care about can we win the league? Should we? I don't know, but I'm just enjoying it, mate. It's brilliant. The ground was great. The atmosphere was great. The noise was great. Yeah, all round. Good night.
And we won. Even better.
Deej,
I'm going to go to you because it's been a few pods since we've had you on. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
What did you make of the game? Was there anything that stood out to you today? And I also want to give you the opportunity to talk about Kulusevski because I thought from where I was sitting in the stadium, there were these moments of prime Kulusevski where he was doing that amazing thing of beating his man despite necessarily being the quicker player of the two. It was really good to watch. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think Kulusevski's kind of done what he's done all season, and that he may not be getting on the score sheet, and I don't know if that's because Ange has told him in no uncertain terms he's not allowed to shoot anymore, because that's kind of the only thing that can explain his 2 chances that he simply refused to take. But other than that, I think his ball carrying capability is really underrated because he's not like a Doku type winger where he's not going to take his man on and beat him for pace with like a step over or something. He's just going to carry the ball. He's not going to lose the ball, and he's going to find a pass to continue the attack. I remember in the end of the game, when he kind of disrespected Willian, thought that felt real good, especially because of who it was. And then for the game overall, I thought obviously the goals came because of our press, and I think that having that kind of coherent press that wasn't really able to be played over the top of consistently. There were obviously times where it happened, especially once we had the subs on, and we didn't have an 11 that were used to playing that in a game scenario. It got a little bit worse, but having the ability to press, and then when the press is played over, to have someone like Van de Ven who can just mop up those balls over the top is just so critical. And I think that we played the game well. We exploited their weaknesses in playing out from the back at times and capitalized on 2 goals. And we probably should have won by more if we had some better finishing from several players. But at the end of the day, 2-0 win's a 2-0 win, and I don't think you can really complain about that.
What that performance reminded me is that a great goalkeeper is as good as a great striker. And I want to pass this question to Stu. who was telling us that Vicario was the man a long time ago, and we were still kind of crying over missing out on David Raya. But Stu, was he your man of the match? You thought it might be Destiny, but do you want to talk a little bit about Vicario's performance?
Yes, definitely let me down there. I thought, Vicario, as we mentioned before, his debut, understandably, he showed nerves versus Brentford. But every game since, he's just growing more and more into the role, and he's becoming, I think, a leader. And he's one of the leaders of that back line. I think, he directs him around, he fills him with confidence, and the saves. I mean, every time someone shoots, I'm not even thinking, oh, here we go, we're going to concede, which it felt like every time someone took a shot when Loris was in goal. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Nothing super spectacular. It's not like he's pulled off worldies, but he's saved what he should save. So I'm well chuffed. But interesting enough, we're talking about how we felt we should have won it more than we did. XG was actually only 1.5 to 1 because of all those huge chances that we were giving up at the end. So I can understand why Ange was absolutely livid at the end of the game, because that game should have been 3 or 4-0, and we should have kept it on and without giving them any hope at the end. Which, can you imagine if one had gone in? Who knows how it would have finished?
And that save from Vicario, you said he doesn't make too many world-class saves, but there was definitely a world-class save in there from that header from the corner, wasn't there? It was sublime. I think, Johnny, the reason these games aren't being won as comfortably as they could be is we can't seem to get that third goal. And I think a lot of people would pin that on partly Kulusevski it's not on his game to be that big goal scorer. He wasn't shooting, but Richarlison seems to be the current scapegoat. And I feel, am I being a bit too sensitive to say maybe the fans are being a little bit harsh, calling for his head? What do you make of Richarlison's performance?
I thought it was pretty decent in the first half, but I guess his whole issue is with the price tag, really, isn't it? And the expectation that comes with that. And unfortunately for him, that doesn't allow fans a whole lot more patience than I think most of them have already given him. And I've tried to, like I did with Soldado, and like I did with Vincent Janssen. It's like, here we go again, and spend even more on Richie. I mean, he did make a difference. I thought he was quite effective down the left. I guess he's probably playing in there because do we have a left winger who's actually really fit, who's actually in a position to take that role? It'd be interesting to see what happens if Brian Heel gets the opportunity sooner rather than later, which I hope he does, and then can maybe show what he can do. Perisic obviously was his delivery in some key performances this season sort of still stand out as the best player in that position. Richie is a striker, really, first and foremost, and he's still second fiddle to Sonny. So I don't know. It's just tough. He did set up Son for the first goal. I think he worked hard, but he did have a couple of chances. There was one in fairly, I think it was still 0-0. Yeah, it was still 0-0, and he kind of tried to place it to the keeper's left, but just wide of the post. And then in the second half, I think it was the first half. So it's just like it was shooting like Sissoko. He was like straight from there.
I think so. Or Didier Zokora, another famous.
Somebody who's 60 million, can't really be too forgiving of that. So to be honest with you, long story short, I've kind of like, I think it's time to sell him probably and try and upgrade. Or trouble is, who do you get in? And, I guess Richie has the reason he probably was willing to come to Spurs in the first place was, even though Kane was there, he does have a versatility up front and can play across the roles. I don't know if we'd be looking for somebody to do something like that. The lease is kind of coming on now, making a few little performances. Didn't get that many minutes, but it does look as if Andrew's willing to give him a go if Sonny's coming off, rather than moving Richie in. I don't know. Interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think he deserves some slack for his work rate, doesn't he, and having the right attitude and everything else. Because it's all you can ask, if you're not good enough in terms of your technical playing ability, all you can ask of a footballer is they give it everything they can on the pitch. with their opportunities. And Emerson Royale was one we wrote off, and he did get to a point where we thought he's actually pretty good. But I think, we can find the right player. It's logical to change. But I actually want to go to David next. David, I know you're not a fan of Spurs, so you probably weren't sat there at the edge of your seat observing this game like we were. But as someone who's looking at Spurs from a complete neutral perspective, what have you made of the performances so far? Are you in this camp of haven't played anyone good yet, let's see how it goes? Or are you in the camp of what on earth happened?
You've got to beat what's in front of you, and there's no easy game in the Premiership. So it's I'm glad you got rid of your managers. Conte, was it Mourinho?
Yeah.
And now you're playing Spursy football.
Yeah,
The football that you want to see, and I'll take my hats off to you. You're playing good football. It's and that Kulusevski, what's it? That right midfielder, Kulusevski.
Kulusevski.
That's it. He's a good player, and I like that Van der Ven that he's brought in as well at centre half.
Lovely, isn't he?
Good player. So now I got If I was a Spurs fan, I'd be quite happy at the moment.
We are.
We are.
I don't blame you. After all that, because I'll be honest with you, Mourinho, so much negativity, wasn't there?
There was.
Much.
Yeah, and fair play to me. You brought that bloke in from Celtic, and nobody knew what he was going to go. And he's come in and he's played a blinder, absolute blinder.
Yeah,
he's playing exciting football.
No, he's completely transformed things. Go on, Dij.
I was just gonna say about time we play some exciting football. The one thing I will say is, in classic Tottenham fashion, the player that we are complaining about has the second most assists on our team this season. Just throwing that out there.
What, Richarlison? He got another assist.
Richarlison's got the second most behind, and then Sheffield behind. Yeah. So anyway, I was just going to say, I think Richarlison, I wanted to talk about Richarlison a little bit because I like Richarlison. I would like to move him on if the time is right. But first of all, I think that in terms of like £60 million signings, he's pretty easily our best one. Because the only other one I can think of is Ndombele. So it's not really much of a comparison.
Well, how much did you pay for Maddison? You paid 40 for Maddison.
40 for Maddison,
That's a steal. That is a steal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent Winks the other way. Sent Winks the other way for 10 mil, so it's a net 30 mil for us.
Yeah. You're right there, Deej.
I think that his pressing was really good in this game as well, and I thought he really could have had 2 assists because I don't know. I guess you could tell Udogie in the box today or yesterday wasn't necessarily like. Because he would take like a touch that I think a striker wouldn't take or like a forward wouldn't take. I think that if that had been like Son in that area, I think that it's possible that Richarlison could have had another assist or 2 because he played some really good balls into the box today and crossed serviceably well. I've seen worse. We had Emerson crossing it in for a while. So yeah, I think he's definitely like upgradable, but I don't think it's like the alarm bells sounding upgrade now that it kind of sounds, because I think that his best position for us isn't at striker. I think it's on the wing.
I think you're right. And listen, you guys know I'm not a massive fan of Richarlison. I've said that quite a lot, but I thought he had a decent game yesterday. I mean, I'd give him 10 out of 10 for effort yesterday. And to Deej's point, I think he was closing down really well. I think he pressed well. He's got energy. He gives everything. It's just that you want him to finish one of those 2 chances that he had. That one from the edge of the box where he tried to steer it into the bottom corner. Okay, you say that's a bit unlucky. He was smidging out, but the one where he stuck it in Rose Ed was like, he's got to be doing better than that, surely.
Yeah, I think Johnny's expression, if you're watching on YouTube, was kind of like, yeah, okay, mate, yeah, you idiot. Yeah, I said to Johnny, you don't quite agree with Sai
because I give him dogs all the time, don't I? I mean, I've never been on board with him really, but I'm just trying to be a bit balanced because I don't think he had a shocker yesterday. It's not like when he tripped over. No. What game was it that he tried to trap the ball and tripped over it? Was that Brentford?
Bournemouth?
Was it Bournemouth? It was
Bournemouth.
either
Yeah.
Bournemouth or Brentford, wasn't it? Where he tried to track the ball and just fell over.
Oh yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway,
The
be honest,
trouble is that if you've got Sonny, who when he gets into those positions, he rarely misses, and I guess that's one of the
yeah.
talking about the XG and how we're taking our chances. I mean, it's because we have him and he's back to.
And when he's scoring like that, Sonny, you can't take him out the middle, can you? You can't take him out of that number 9 slot at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's fair to. I don't think he's that bad where he's some scapegoat. I just think if he was a backup left winger and we had someone much better there, we'd be fine with him being on the bench and just coming on and being an option. But yeah, it is what it is. And one other player we need to quickly talk about in a bit more detail before we go on to the Palace preview and pass over to David for a bit of a feel of how we expect Palace to set up and play is Hojbjerg, I think, because he's another squad player who is in a position that is critical to the system Ange plays, which puts him under a lot of pressure. He's also being asked to play a role which isn't natural to him. How do we think he got on? Stu, I'll go with you next.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. I thought it was apparent why he doesn't start. He doesn't offer what Bissouma does. But I thought you could see that he is trying to take on board Ange's style of football. He was playing a lot more progressive than he did either under Mourinho or under Conte. So I think he did a pretty good job. He even, he had a pretty good assist for the pre-assist for the second goal.
Yeah.
He did the Mickey van der Ven, basically equivalent for the first goal. And I thought he played a good game. I would suggest, I know that you don't agree, Jim, but I would suggest after that performance, he deserves to start against Palace to save Bissouma from getting booked for the Chelsea game.
We're going to get into this one. I think we'd be kicking ourselves if we rest Bissouma, draw to Palace, and then go and draw to Chelsea again, thinking we could have. Like, I feel if we put our strongest 11 out, and I know David's on the call, this can seem really out, but I think if we put our strongest 11 out, we've got a better chance of beating Palace than we would even Chelsea even though it's at home. That's my personal view. And it's almost like in rugby when you can take the kick and guarantee the 3 points, or do you go for the try and go for the risk? I think you guys are taking the slightly riskier approach of thinking we'll just breeze past Palace and save your best players for Chelsea. I think Palace are going to be tough.
No.
What do you think, Deej?
No, shut up. You can't just stick that out there as though that's what we said last time, because it wasn't. What we're saying is, listen, Palace is no walkover. Don't get us wrong. I'm not just saying it because David's on, but Palace are no walkover at their place. But Bissouma is a must for Chelsea. He's a must for Chelsea because they're coming into a bit of form. They're coming into a bit of form. I'd have him on the bench. Hojbjerg did a good job yesterday. His passing and his distribution was pretty good yesterday from what was asked of him. So, I mean, he'll do a job there. Don't worry about that. And we have Bissouma there for the Chelsea game. He's a bit rested. He's chomping at the bit, and we'll ruin him.
What do you reckon, Deej? You're the casting vote here, I think. Actually, I've lost either way. By Johnny's expression, he is firmly in Cy and Stu's camp. So, am I losing this one?
I think so, because my thought process is that I think that the thing that Hojbjerg offers that Bissouma potentially doesn't is I think Hojbjerg's passing range is a little bit better, because Bissouma, a lot of the way that he brings the ball forward, that he generates plays for us is through ball carrying instead of a pass, which is good against a high press, but isn't as good against a team that's going to put 11 behind the ball. Like it sounds like Palace may be doing. So if that is the case, then having someone who has a wider range of pass like Hojbjerg,
great point. It's a great point, Deej.
Could be more beneficial than someone who's going to carry the ball into 10 men, essentially. Because I know Hojbjerg had some really great, had some pretty good passes yesterday. Just switching the field of play that I don't think Bissouma would make with the regularity that Hojbjerg would make those passes. So I think that I wouldn't be mad if we started Bissouma, but I can certainly see the argument for starting Hojbjerg and saving Bissouma for the Chelsea game.
Okay.
We don't need Johnny's casting vote then, really.
No, I think Johnny,
This is the white one.
you finished off the Bissouma one.
I don't see Palace sitting back the way Fulham did yesterday. They're not at home.
Yeah,
they don't play
not
like
bad.
that at home. So
I don't know.
I think Deitch made a good point, but I don't think that carries for that game, to be honest, as much as I agree with the overall selection. Anyway,
Should we ask the
David
expert?
can tell us.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
David, how do you think we'll play?
our team picks itself at the moment. We've got so many injuries. We've got Eze, Alesi, and Eze.
Big misses.
He's just magic on the ball, isn't he? He gets the ball. He just looks so good on the ball. Alesi, he's a big miss. And I think Roy probably plays 4 at the back. That Mitchell at left back will be a good game against that right midfield review lot. Like, what's his name?
Kulusevski.
Kulusevski, yeah.
That'd be a good fight. That'd be a good little battle, that one.
Interesting.
And in the middle of the park, we just go Decore, Lamar, and probably Hughes. And up front, it'd probably Ayew, Mata, and Eduardo. But I'd like to see that Franco get a going because he's just come back. Brazilian, 25 million that we've got. And Saki, is he a young lad, 21, come through the youth. He was at Charlton last season, player of the season. I'd give him a game just to run at you.
Yeah.
But I think Roy being Roy, the team picks itself at the moment.
Okay. And did you say Eze's out injured?
Eze's out injured. He won't be back till late November.
Wow. Okay. We're quite fortunate times to be playing.
Alesi might be fit, but I doubt he'd play him. I don't think he'd play him this weekend.
Interesting.
So, and then
Decore's an interesting one. Now, on his day, he's mustard.
He is, and it's like our centre half. It reminds me of Ledley King.
Yeah,
Gay.
Yeah,
he really. If you watch him, like you watch him for England and that, and you look at him, man, he really reminds me of Ledley King. As long as he don't end up with all his injuries like Ledley King, but he does remind me of Ledley King.
So keep an eye on Gay if you're a Spurs fan. I think would be a takeaway for this, and just feel a bit fortunate they're missing some key players, which should be dangerous on the counter. But you expect you guys to very much go for a counter-attacking game.
I think he will. I think it's Roy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got years of experience.
He's got years of experience, but he done all right. After our Patrick Vieira let us down, good old Arsenal player.
Yeah,
but I reckon anything can happen. Friday night under the lights at Selhurst Park, it'd be bouncing.
Good atmosphere down there.
It will be a good atmosphere, yes.
Yeah.
And do you think you'll take us wide, or do you think you'll hit us through the centre? How do you like to play? Do you like to get out wide and get crosses in, or do you go down the middle?
We try and get it out wide and get the crosses in, but we miss a decent centre forward. You can get the crosses in, but you need somebody who's going to get on the end of them, right? But like this Frankie that we got Brazilian, hopefully he's going to go up and get on the ball and spread it out a bit because he's supposed to be good.
You need a number 9. We need a winger. There's a trade going on here. I'm thinking
we've got something that you might be interested in.
For a bit of Richarlison.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
So you give us a bell. Give us a bell after this, and we'll have a chat.
A Mars bar and a Kit Kat,
No. Yeah. We've got a bit of a squeaky chair there. Well, just a flag.
That's why I got rid of the tissues,
Very good. But yeah, what do you think then, Johnny? How are you feeling about the game? Do you think we're going to go... Well, Ange is only going to attack, so that's a stupid question. There is no other way he plays. But what's your feelings on what the performance will be? So you think Hojbjerg will start, and how do you think it will go, and what do you think the score will be?
I wouldn't want to second guess Ange because he's pretty much like Dave says. The Palace team picks itself, and so the Spurs team pretty much picks itself as well. I think that is probably the only question mark is on the left forward position. I guess you could say with Brennan Johnson coming in, he's going to be starting to challenge Kulusevski. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Ange started with Bissouma because, like, he does, with the exception of the Fulham League Cup game, like he just wants to win the game and he'll do whatever he thinks he needs to do to win the game, and he could, take a chance in it. I think Chelsea have improved a lot. I know, don't get sidetracked too much because we're looking ahead to Palace now, but they were really good in midfield, but they were shocking up front, and their keeper was awful against Arsenal the other day. So, like, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I wouldn't be. I don't think necessarily Bissouma has to play against Chelsea, although I would wish he would. I'd love him to be there. But getting back to the Palace, I mean, I suppose, like, just looking at the way we played, we are really consistent. Like, the way that we're playing now compared to last season, and the fact that we're so strong across the back, like, I'm still quite confident. I do think we'll win. And no disrespect to Palace. Palace away is always a really, really difficult game. And if I was a fan of another team, I think being a Palace fan would be an exciting experience. But those home games, they look amazing. I remember the game where they screwed up Liverpool's title challenge, and I think Liverpool were 3-0 up, and then it went back to 3-3 really quite late on. Like, that was unbelievable. And I was, like, most of us are probably cheering Palace that night. So, I mean, it is really intimidating. I guess if Palace get a good start, then we could really be feeling the pressure. But, like, Ange does seem to have players playing with such confidence now, and our press is so effective. Yesterday, even with the low block, like, in the first half, we were really, like, Maddison was just so clever. Like, those intricate passes, there were times definitely when we could have shot and we weren't shooting. But I thought that compared to last season, when we're just, like, watching the most, like, sterile, predictable, horrifically boring football and didn't have a clue how to break teams down. Like, yesterday showed, like, just how talented, how much energy and confidence Spurs have going forward. So I do think that we'll probably come through, but it's just quite scary, isn't it? Because, like, when you've been supporting Spurs for so many decades, and you see where we are in the league, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, you can go 5 points clear." It's like, oh my god, I just feel really sick. I've got serious vertigo when I'm talking about it. I really hope it continues to happen, but it just feels really alien. So I'm not going to get ideas above myself. I certainly wouldn't disrespect or presume anything, because it's
Johnny,
Tottenham.
Supposedly we'd have played 10 teams, but we haven't played anyone good yet. Still haven't played anyone good. We've only played half the league, so we haven't played
we were
anyone
really
good
lucky
yet.
against Liverpool, weren't we? And all of
that.
We played three traditionally big teams. We've had some. Brentford away is a tough game. Liverpool, doesn't matter where you play them, it's a tough game. The Emirates is obviously one of the hardest places to go. So actually, that's a load of crap. So yeah, that's not true.
I agree. Yeah. So your score prediction, Johnny, can't finish off. Give me.
2-1.
Who's scoring?
Son, and I'm gonna, like, this
Plot
is because I
twist,
want
it's 2-1 to Palace.
Brian Hill.
Yeah. Oh,
with a
Brian
little
Hill.
dribble like Ricky Villa.
That's a good question. I'm going to pass that to you, Dees. Do you think there's a chance Brian Hill could start on the left wing? And do you think, a bonus question actually, or could Brennan Johnson maybe start right wing and Kulusevski go on the left? Do you think the wide player will change for this game? And what is your prediction for the score as well?
I think it's certainly possible that we switch up our wing play, especially because we played on Monday and Richarlison put in a shift. I would be excited to see Heel or Johnson. I think Heel probably had his best game for us last season against Palace, if I remember correctly. So I would not be too opposed to seeing him again. I think he's a really exciting player, and once he's back to full fitness, I think he fit the Ange system a lot better than he fit Conte's system of not attacking whatsoever, getting it to Kane and praying to all things holy that he can pull something out of his ass. And he always did, but whatever. It's much better to do it this way, I think, even if we don't have Kane. And then in terms of the game overall, I think missing Elise and Eze is absolutely massive for Palace. I just don't see where their goals are coming from in this team. It looks like they've scored like 1 in their past 5. If I'm reading this correctly, which is sounds like a a bit like feels like a Conte team, if I'm being honest. A lot of 0-0s. There's a 1-0 in there. 1-0 win against United. Good for y'all. But yeah, I think if we can continue our scoring form, Luton excluded, I think that we can win this one, despite it obviously not being an easy game. Because any game in the Prem is not easy, despite what people will try to convince you when they're trying to discredit Tottenham being top of the league at the moment. I think we'll probably end 3-1. I think Sonny will get a brace, and I think we'll get a goal from... I think we'll get a bullet header from Valise in the 88th.
Oh, God. Go down the bookies, Deej. Put some money on that because you'll get some good odds. David, I'm going to mix it up and put you in the middle of the predictions here. What is your prediction as a Palace? To Palace?
3-1.
To
Van der
Palace?
Ven, 3 own goals. Now, I'll be honest with you. I want us to win. I'll be happy with a draw.
Yeah.
I'll take the moment. I'll take the draw.
Yeah, you see,
I'll be happy with a win, but I'll take a point.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this might be a draw as well, Dave. But I'll get to mine at the end.
No,
who would be your goal scorer if you score? If you say 1-1,
probably come from a corner, Anderson or somebody header.
Okay.
Because we just got nothing. We've got nothing going forward. We really, what your man said, what DJ just said. I don't know where our goals are coming from. We've got Ayew. He's constant. He battles away, but he's hopeless in front of the goal. Right? I don't want to put him down. I love Palace through and through, but I can't see where the goals are coming from at the moment. We just haven't got that bit of flair, especially with the team he's going to pick.
Okay. Well, I'll go to Stu next. To Si, I started with you. I'll finish with you today. But Stu, what do you think? Score? Any kind of particular way you think the game's going to go?
Yeah, I think, Palace, it's a proper old school ground. It's the ground closest to where my sister lives. So I've been a few times. I've flown over to go watch Burnley play there with my old man. And it's a proper old school ground. And I think in days gone by, as Johnny was referring to, this is the typical banana skin that, we go in there thinking, here we go, we're going to take advantage, we're going to put pressure on, and in typical Spursy fashion, we fall over and make fools of ourselves. That said, this is a new era. We seem, for whatever reason, that Ange has brought Lady Luck down to North London with him. Because, the Sheffield game, the Liverpool game, even the United game that, we go on about how, we won comfortably. We were lucky because they had 2 proper goal-scoring opportunities before we got our first. But I believe that Ange will have put a rocket up their bum at training this morning because he was not happy with how that second half went. And I think we're going to come out and we're going to show... I'm not going to say, title form because I think it's way too early for that, But I think he's going to have us performing the way we should do, and we're going to win 2-0 because we always score 2 goals, and right now Vicario seems unbeatable. And I'm going to go goal scorers Kulu because he's going to get out of the rut and he's actually going to shoot. And I'm going to go Sonny again because the bloke is on fire.
Go on, that's a nice prediction. What about you, Si?
Yeah, so DJ's nicked me 3-1. I'm going 3-1 as well. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think there'll be something like David said. Maybe we'll get found out at a corner set piece, but I think we'll press really hard again. I think that Maddison's interview after the game where he was saying that Ange went ballistic against Shakhtar when they scored 2 goals and then sat back and didn't continue to press. He said, the boss is telling us that's a non-negotiable. Whether we're winning 3-4, whatever, the press is what we do. So I think to Stu's point, I think they'll get a rocket from last night on that second half. They'll go out and it'll be a mega press. I think I'm going to go for 3 different goal scorers. I'm going to go Sonny, Maddison, and Mickey.
Interesting.
I don't know what order, but I think Mickey will get a corner or a header from a free kick. I think I love the fella. Love him, Mickey.
He is brilliant. Yeah. He is. We didn't dive in it too much, but how quick was he against Fulham in one of those traps? It's just a monster. But I need to end in a second, so because we're running behind a bit. But I'll finish it off with Roy knows these games better than most managers. He's in that seat for his experience because he keeps clubs like Palace safe so they can steady the ship in the Premier League and build on it. And I just think this is the type of game where he'll try wear us down to the 90th minute, thinking if I'm still in it, I can nick it. And I think it'll be a really close 1-0 win. But I was actually leaning on 1-1 for a little bit, but I'm just going to shake that old Spursy trauma because we've got Ange now who seems to have gotten rid of that and say, no, I trust him to just do enough and find a way of I think it'll be a tight all game and people will be blaming Richarlison, blaming Hojbjerg for not being able to beat his man. That's why we're not breaking them down when in reality, Palace have just really, really organised, know exactly what they're doing, and it'll take a moment of magic from Son to kind of whip something in from outside the box like he does, I think. But, so roll on Friday, and we all finish with an up Spurs, except for David.
What a panic!
Spurs.